If I would have had Anarchy Audioworx when I was still in nappies, I'd be a gazillionaire by now.
Told you I'm not average. Spread butter on a boy like a sandwich. LB on a musical rampage. Been a response for collateral damage. Seven no response on the weekend producer.
Right, so here we are, ladies and gentlemen, in the laboratory right about now, and emblazoned on your screen, it is the Anarchy Comp. And the interesting thing about Anarchy Comp is not just a compressor, it actually has a saturation unit built in. And before we go any further, I'm just going to go through the GUI with you. Starting at the top left-hand side, you've got a button where you can press a hyperlink where you can get your 1 GB of free samples. And next to that, you've got the save button, which is basically reliant on the preset that you make up in order for you to save it. In the middle here, you have the preset dialog bar, where if you click that, you can pick one of 55 presets that are readily available to you. So whatever audio sources you got going through it, there's going to be a preset that's going to cater to that audio source's need. All right, so next to that, we have got the settings button. If you click on that, it gives you some blurb as to the team behind Anarchy Audioworx as well as this Anarchy Comp. Steve and James are the people responsible for that, so I just want to big them up right about now. And also within this dialog box, you can literally click on these red hyperlinks and you can basically get the information that you need in relation to how the thing works by clicking on the quick start tutorial video, clicking on their website, clicking on their Facebook group page as well. As you can see, you can resize it by clicking onto this, and let's go to 200%. As you can see, it's just made the thing humongous. So let's just put it back to 100% and come out of that. All right. So next up, we have got another hyperlink that will lead you to more plugins that Anarchy Audioworx has made, which I think is pretty good. You know, it kind of, gets you in the vibe, in the flow to just check out more of what Anarchy Audioworx has got to offer without just going into external windows and stuff, which is pretty neat. All right, so that's basically the top part. All right, so on the left hand side, you have the compressor, which pretty much does what it says on the tin. You got the power on button here. You got the threshold button. You got the gain, the ratio, attack and release. However much you compress the signal, you've got the auto makeup button there. So it will basically make up lost levels with the compression of the audio that has gone through it. In the middle here, you have the VU meter, which basically measures the compression. And underneath that, although you can't see at the moment, is going to be an illustration of the wave file or the waveform that is going through the plugin itself. And the waveform is kind of made up of two colored waves. The red wave is the dry signal and the white wave is the wet signal. So basically the wet signal will measure the amount of compression. On the right, you have the saturation knob. It's kind of neat that you've got a saturation section within a compressor, because that alleviates the need to go into any other plugins to get saturation to put on a compressor, which I think is time saving and labor saving. So starting from the top, we have the high pass, low cut, wet signal, where you can simply tame any harsh transients, anything that kind of creates unnecessary harsh signals that you're going to basically get going through it. So that will basically tame it. And this is the on and off switch for the saturation. This is the saturation button here. And when you turn it up, it kind of lights up like a valve amp, like a tube, if you like. And underneath that, we have the dry compression signal and the wet compression signal. So by using these two buttons, you can run it as a parallel compressor. So right now I'm going to turn on the compressor, and I've got the Anarchy Comp going through a drum bus, which consists of 4 sounds: hi-hat at the clap, the break, the ride, and the kick drum, which consists of 4 different samples taken from the 1GB sample pack that comes free when you join Anarchy Audioworx's Facebook group. Okay, so I'm just going to use their samples to illustrate what is going on. So let's just get an idea of what the signal is going through it. Right, and as you can see from the VU meter, you can see how much compression is basically going into it. And also on the waveform signal, you can see the red wave and the white waves in tandem. And of course, if the gain is not up to speed or up to scratch, I can basically press the auto makeup gain and it will just level up the gain to wherever you need it to be. All right, so let's just play that. And that's pretty much healthy. All right, so moving away from that, let's just take off the auto makeup gain, bring it down to 0 again. Okay, and if you want to basically restore it to its natural value, you just double click it and it just reverts back to the point, the original point. Okay, so going into the saturation, let me just turn on the saturation and just hear how that sounds, just dry. Okay, so with compression, you know, no great shakes there. But the beauty is that when you turn up the saturation, it's going to give it, dare I say the phrase, it gives it a warm analog sound. So let's just basically just play it and turn the knob up. And that is pretty much that in terms of saturation. I mean, if you really want to just saturate the hell out of it, it can be done. So I don't really need to labor that point. All right. So little subtle touches of saturation there can color the sound and give it that, dare I say it again, warm analog sound. Okay, and underneath we have got the comp dry and the comp wet. And as I described before, you can enable parallel compression with that. So let's just see how that will work in tandem with the saturation and the compressor. So that's the compression dry. Let's just turn down the compression wet and see what effects we have there. Okay, so it's just the comp dry because the waveform is still red. There's no white in there. All right, so let's just turn the wet up slowly and see what we got. Okay, that's sounding pretty healthy to me. All right, so the last button that we're going to go into, which is the high pass, low cut wet signal. And this basically takes care of all the unhealthy, harsh transients that can come from any audio source, but primarily it's going to be, you know, with overhead mics and stuff like that, just to get the low end out of that, so you can get a nice healthy kind of ring through your audio sources. All right, so let's just see how that works in tandem with everything else. Take down the wet signal for a bit. All right, bring up the high pass. So it kind of acts like a tilt function, where basically you get rid of just the low frequencies, or get rid of portions of the low frequencies of your audio source. And that is pretty much it for Anarchy Comp. It's a compressor, it's a saturation unit, and personally I think is a great tool to use. Very low on CPU, saves you from basically just faffing around with extra saturation plugins. And going into the preset box one more time, obviously you can create your own presets as well, but like I said, there's 55 different presets that covers bass right here, drums, guitars, mastering, synths, and vocals. And the good thing is that whenever you click on any of these, it will give you further information as to how you can get the best effect from the preset as well. I really think that's a good thing, because some people just don't read manuals, and a lot of people like to kind of go into plugins blind and just learn it that way, and then just get to be more familiar with the plugin they're using in that fashion, because everyone learns how to use plugins differently. But I think with adding tutorials over certain buttons, over certain commands and stuff, is a great idea. It's a great idea, and it's a great practice as well for people to be up to speed with their plugin of choice. All right, so that's pretty much it for Anarchy Comp. It's a compressor saturation unit with lots of presets. Very, very cool plugin to use by Anarchy Audioworx. Absolutely love it. Thumbs up. And here we are with yet another plugin courtesy of Anarchy Audioworx, entitled Pulsar. Now here's a bit of blurb in relation to the plugin. It is a new age of phaser, bringing a fresh spin to the effect that we know and love. With two separate frequency controls, choice between tempo synced and millisecond modulation speed, a variety of LFO waveform shapes, feedback and mix controls, all available from the beautifully constructed interface, you have everything you need to add movement and interest to your sound. It comes with 25 well thought out presets to get the inspiration flowing, which are all fully customizable. Retweak them, change the timings and settings to suit, and then save them as your own for use in future projects. Okay, so here is the interface, and as per usual, we're just going to cycle through all the features very quickly. So first of all, click onto the settings, and we have the blurb as per, and we have the sizing function as per, and we're going to come out of that. And we are going to go into the presets, of which there are 25 of them. So we're going to come out of that and go through the buttons and the control system right here. Okay, so from left to right, from top to bottom, we have two frequencies here that we can basically toy with. And they're in kilohertz here and kilohertz here. And on the third button, we have the feedback. So basically, it's the amount of phasing that's going to be going on. And also on the right, we have the mix. And at the bottom, from left to right, we have got modulation speed, which can be in one of two styles. It can be set in milliseconds, which is here. Okay. And kilohertz here. Or it can be synced to the tempo of your track. So it can basically be dotted, triplets, whatever you want. and it could be smoothed out into milliseconds as well. And in the middle here, you have got the waveform selection, which are as follows: sine wave, triangle wave, saw wave, square wave, and random, which are pretty basic. All right. So for this, let me just turn down everything here. Okay, I'm going to turn down all of that. All right, so for this overview, I'm going to feature a different instrument within the beat. I think I'm going to feature the viola alongside the synth essential sounds that you're going to hear as well. That's pretty much it. So I just want you to concentrate on the viola. We're going to check out the presets real quick. And I'm just going to cycle through them and see what we get. Okay, so basically you have got a lot of settings to play with. Okay, so we are back to the initialized state of Pulsar. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play the track again, see if we got the original viola sound on it. Yes, we have. Right. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through the features alongside the sound itself. So on the left, we got the two frequencies A and B. All right, so let's just basically toy around with that and see how that's going to sound. But of course, we've got to put the mix in, right? So let's just put the mix in at around 25%. Okay, and see where we're at with that. In fact, let's bring it back, or bring it more to around 50%. Okay, let's see where we get on with that. You know what? Even better, let me just take out all the synth essential sounds out of it. Okay, 'cause I think they're just drowning it out at the minute, so you can't really hear the intricacies of the phasing taking place. So let's start again. All right, so let's do this. Okay, there's slight differences there in the frequencies. All right, so let's put the feed back up and see what we got here. Okay, very noticeable differences right there. I just want to right click and see if we can learn MIDI CC. Oh, don't look like we can. But we can automate it. That's not a problem. All right, let's go back again. I mean, the controls feel very tactile even when I'm moving it with the mouse, so I don't think it's going to prove to be a big problem that it's not MIDI CC. All right, so with that being said, let's go down into the speed and the smoothness and the waveform section. Let's just bring all the values halfway up and see how we get on with that with the sine wave waveform. Okay, so I'm going to alternate all the waveforms as we play the viola riff, okay? Let's just bring it up a little bit. See if we can make more of a dramatic change with that. Okay, not much change, but it all depends on the instruments, I guess. All right, so let's just move on to the sync to tempo. I think we might get more of an effect with the sync to tempo. I think the tempo is, right, it's 124 BPMs. All right, so let's just sync it to tempo and see what effects we get with the different time signatures and the smoothness. Okay, let's add a little bit of rhythm to it. I'm going to put back the hi-hat and the clap and see how that sounds with it. Add some more elements. Yeah, I mean, it does what a phaser is basically supposed to do. And the good thing I like about this phaser is that it's got so many different parameters in terms of the time signature that you can sync it up with, or you can make it as loose as you want to, and you can automate it to your heart's content. I think there's just so many aspects of this plugin that you can use just to create a whole fresh new vibe on whatever audio you put through it. You know, I mean, there's lots of phasers out there, granted, but at the same time, there's ways of actually syncing it and there's ways of making it loose, like I said, you know. Yeah, so Pulsar, yeah, I'm liking it. I'm liking it. I'm liking the vibe on it. So let's just play it again. Very, very spongy and bouncy. Yeah. Anarchy Audioworx, Pulsar.
Weekend producer.